The most popular videos on my channel are videos about the TCK. I wasn't going to make one more video, but a lot of interesting things related to the TCK have happened that I haven't covered, and I also need to answer some questions. Today I will talk about the population's resistance, answer the question of why those kidnapped people are fighting at all, and also cover many TCK related issues. For example, how the Ukrainian government is trying to deny forced conscription, and also about corruption in the TCK. I will also tell you how the TCK took away Angelina Jolie's bodyguard, but more on that at the end of the video. If you haven't heard about the TCK, I have 3 videos on my channel about it. The first one is the most informative. If you are interested, you can watch it. In short, it's a state organization that forcibly takes men to the front line. I want to say thank you to all the people who are sponsoring me. If you like my channel and want to see more videos, you can support me by the link in the description. To begin this video, I have to answer the most popular question in comments under previous parts. Why these men are fighting? Why they are not deserting and not surrendering to Russia? Well, they are deserting. 161,000 criminal cases were initiated in the first 10 months of 2025 for unauthorized abandonment of a military unit. A Ukrainian deputy stated that soon the number of servicemen who left will be equal to the number of fighting soldiers, and that 80% are now fleeing from training centers. Just to be precise, they are not deserters because they leave their weapons in the unit. It's called unauthorized absence from the unit. And here you can see a deputy in the Verkhovna Rada who is holding up a poster and saying that because of forced mobilization, the state is spending money on people who simply run away. But many of abducted people fighting instead of surrendering. And here you need to understand that hatred for Russia is total in Ukrainian society. And Ukrainians simply hate Russia and the TCK equally. It was very funny to see comments from Ukrainians who first said thanks to me for highlighting the problem with conscription to Western people, and then they saw the other videos on my channel and started writing comments that I am a traitor of Ukraine. Yes, a lot of Ukrainians really think that Ukraine should fight, but without the TCK and without their personal participation. Also, you have to understand that when people kidnapped by the TCK arrive at the front line and get their weapons, they don't see TCK officers who kidnapped them. They see soldiers who were either conscripted by the TCK or are volunteers who choose to fight. I don't even think they see the commanders, because commanders don't visit the front line, and there is no one to frag. Now a bit about the resistance of population. Half a year ago I made a separate video about this and YouTube put age restriction on it, so it has few views. You can watch it if you want. But now I just want to tell you about a recent incident. In Odessa, on the territory of the largest local market, there was a clash between local residents and TCK workers. As a result of the clash, the crowd surrounded and overturned a van. And some public figures from the Ukrainian army suggested dealing with these people, like striking them with drones or with MLRS. In general, there are a huge number of attacks on TCK workers, sometimes even with firearms, and many cases where people who were just passing by rescue victims of the TCK. Another important aspect of the TCK's activities is corruption. Various Ukrainian sources provide different information, but here are the approximate prices. To get out of a van, $1,000, and to get out of the TCK, from $3,000 to $5,000. Wonderful country.
Пане Олександре, ви адвокат. А наскільки до вас часто звертаються люди, які скаржаться саме на корупцію в роботі ТЦК? Давайте з цього почнемо.
Практично кожен день.
Кожен день? Практично
кожен день, по декілька разів в день. Ці цифри, я не думаю, що народним депутатам невідомі, але регулярно людей хватають, випустить із бусика, там те, що є, вигребуть з карманів, випустять $1000. Для того, щоб вийти з ТЦК там від 3 до $5 тисяч, вийти з отієї славнозвісної зрошувальної 17, там уже цифри і 8, і $15 тисяч називалися. Якщо ви не знаєте, я вам ці цифри назвав.
And the Ukrainian government is trying to deny the actions of TCK, but it's doing a poor job. There are TCK's own statements claiming that 90% of the videos are either Russian propaganda or AI generated. I don't really understand who their statements are for, because people in the West often don't know about the TCK. Ukrainians are seeing it with their own eyes, and Russians aren't concerned with the TCK's statements. Some Ukrainian officials are making the same claims, that all of these videos are Russian propaganda. Again, I don't know who believes them. Furthermore, the Ukrainian government is trying to punish people for recording the TCK's work. Here you can see the court verdict in Odessa, where the court sentenced a woman to 5 years in prison with a 2-year probation period for publishing a video of the TCK abducting people. And anyway, the internet is full of such videos. There is even a 4-hour compilation. I only include videos that don't show any beatings, so as not to violate YouTube's rules, and those where the quality is good enough to see something. Now some interesting cases. A Ukrainian journalist interviewed a spokesperson for the Kyiv TCK, and he publicly denied the incidents with forced mobilization. But a week after that interview, the son of the journalist's friends was killed by TCK workers. Another very interesting case involves Angelina Jolie, who visited Kherson. Her driver was detained by the TCK. On the first day, the local TCK stated that nothing like that had happened, and claimed that Jolie had only entered the TCK building to use the toilet. However, some Ukrainian sources still confirmed that her driver was indeed mobilized. Some Western sources didn't say a word about it, and she didn't mention it in her Instagram either. A good example of how the West treats Ukrainians. Unfortunately, there is too much content to show and to talk about. But to be honest, I don't enjoy making such videos, so that's all for today. If you want to see more content about Ukraine and Russia, you can support me by the link in the description. And if you don't want to, you can just leave a like.